Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice Tuesday hairless morning over here from Helsinki, Finland, as we prepare for the real markets to open. And that means the real moves to begin yet again. So I do expect that there's going to be a little bit of interesting action around US market open later today. And then of course, spilling into tomorrow. And then the bigger picture that we've been looking at is there is reason to believe, at least based upon a few signals that are slowly but surely coming to evolution here, that the bounce very likely does happen probably around, I think, earliest end of this week, maybe around beginning of next week. So we'll be going over the statistics kind of surrounding that. And other than that, I think it's time for me to once again shill aggressively my Instagram. I've been doing little short Bitcoin updates there on the stories feature, and then also other, stuff, content related as well. You may or may not be interested in that, but I would let you know that it is available to you in the link in the description below. Of course, it's free. And I also want to remind you, as I literally keep on getting messages about this every fucking day. There's a bunch of scammers on Instagram. Any other account that is not the one in the link in the description below is not me. I can assure you of that. Please, 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 please be safe. All right, sweet. So let's just jump into it right now. Starting off with Bitcoin on the shorter term timeframes. We were looking at this as a ranges yesterday between about 20,000. I think it was 800 versus 20. I think it was like actually 19.6 to the downside. On spot price action. In this case, we did get the breakout to the upside. That was all supported by the funny rates and some of the drives of bullish divergence that we were seeing on CME, I believe. So ultimately that did play out here, or sorry, is in the process of playing out. But I do want to put on a major contingency to the rest of what we're going to be speaking about regarding the shorter term timeframes here. Everything is contingent upon this. Bitcoin staying above basically that little spike low that we saw yesterday at about 20,300 and change right there. As long as Bitcoin's above there, even on a very short-term time frame like an hourly, I do still look for this rally to continue sideways and up. And then around the time that US markets open up a little bit later today, perhaps we get a little bit of fun business. Because here's the thing, US markets were not open when Bitcoin was making its lows. Typically speaking, we see these markets kind of, trade in lockstep with each other. So if there's going to be a bit of panic in traditional markets, probably does happen around that time, maybe tomorrow as well on Wednesday. But after that, I do think that markets, they've been kind of beat up enough to the downside for right now. I'm not calling any macro lows. This is in no way, shape, or form a macro low call. In fact, I would not feel comfortable at all stating that, but I do think that generally speaking, markets getting ready to bounce later this week, earlier next week, something like that. Anyways, and we'll go over the actual signal that I'll be looking for that later today. So in the short term, how high can Bitcoin go here? Well, we did say, I think it was about 2 or 3 days ago, based off of the break of, I believe it was 19 something rather, that, we'd be looking at a move towards 21,000, maybe even 22,000. And I still think that it's actually in order. Obviously, we've already hit the $21,000 target, and then the short-term time frame range highs were broken yesterday, or I guess this morning, based off the analysis from yesterday. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I do think that Bitcoin could find its way somewhere around here, basically upper 21s to low 22s, if you want to put an exact number on it for CME. And again, I'm doing all of this analysis on CME. It'd be something like this, 21.9 to about 22.2, something like that. Do keep in mind our last lower high is coming in right around here from the 16th of June. So anything below there is yet again another lower high and not very helpful. And of course, we should also be aware of the fact that on the weekly, we have the 200 simple moving average coming in right around where? Right around 22,400. So that would be a little bit above even the short-term time frame range that I am kind of postulating right here, which would be a really, really good area at fucking minimum for a bit of a pullback. And hey, if you are looking for a rejection and maybe another return somewhere back down below $20,000, it's probably where it happened from, as Bitcoin is going to naturally have hidden bearish divergence drives available to it as long as it's below that level. I mean, on the 4-hour already, we do have this 4-hour RSI making higher highs than even the highs that we saw from 10th of June, which was like way back when Bitcoin was closer to $29,000, let alone fucking $20,000. So that is a bit sobering right there. Anyways, again, I would not be looking for this rally to be unraveled short term unless and only if Bitcoin does come back down below, again, that 20,300 pivot right here. Other than that, 4-hour BBWP is looking for expansion yet again after cooling off after a major, massive extreme that we did see. I think this was, later last week. And then momentum oscillators are a little bit more on the upside here as well. So let's actually go check in on stochastic momentum. Let's see where that one is at right now. 4-hour stochastic momentum remains to the upside above where? Oh, what do you fucking know? Basically that same pivot. at 20,230, very, very close to that 20,300 region that I'm speaking about earlier. 12-hour also going to be pointed north as long as Bitcoin's above. Oh, what do you fucking know? 20,300. Crazy that keeps on coming up. So that's a big, big pivot here. As long as Bitcoin's above there, yeah, short term probably does continue the rally a little bit more. And then hourly, where we pivoted at for the very, very short term, 20,630. And then of course the daily, which we're going to do a much deeper analysis into soon enough, is pivoted at 21,000 bucks, which Bitcoin's actually currently above right now. So if it does start to close above there at the end of today, there actually is a little bit of hopium for bounce to happen bounce happen sooner rather than later, meaning that, we probably see it happen maybe as soon as tomorrow rather than later this week. And bounce targets would also naturally be higher as well, which would be, I guess, good for a little bit of hopium right there. Or maybe just to get people into more long positions before dumping in their face yet again. Anyways, we'll get to that topic maybe on another video, of course. I'm not really saying anything about that on this particular video. But yeah, we do see, yes, another drive of phantom div over here on 4-hour RSI. So last week I did say I was looking for 3 to 4 drives. Actually, we do kind of have that right now, don't we? 1, 2. Oh my God, what was the read right there? Holy shit, you don't see that too often. 11 read on the 4-hour RSI. It doesn't happen very often, but happened last week. So we got 1, 2, 3, and number 4 right there. Again, there's going to be ebbs and flows, of course, but ultimately I do, that is interesting right there. Anyways, other than that, I do want to point out that if you do want a little bit of short-term doomium, the funding rates are actually positive right now at almost 0.1%, technically speaking at 0.009%. And again, yesterday that relationship held true yet again, given a bit of an upside bias. So over the weekend, we had one iteration where that didn't work, and that's been like one out of, in recent memory, like the last month and a half or 2 months. So pretty damn dependable in this case. And yeah, it actually would be positive here. So the question to me is, how high does Bitcoin get here before playing out a bit of a pullback? Again, does it happen kind of where we're currently at right here? I really wouldn't call that concerning until Bitcoin's below about 20,300 or so. At that point, yes, I'd be looking for a retest somewhere reasonably close to our current lows, maybe a little bit lower. And but if that doesn't happen and we do see it somewhere right around here, then yeah, I'd be looking for a nice clean rejection somewhere around $22,000. I think that's maybe a little more likely to happen in this particular case. Okay, cool. What else do I want to be getting off to right now? What else do I want to be getting off? Is this fucking pornog? What the fuck? Jesus Christ, man. Choose your words better. It's all those damn pain pills. I'll tell you that. They're disgusting. I'm so glad that I don't take them anymore. God damn. Anyways, let's go back on over to this chart over here. This is the stuff that I feel the most confident on, regardless of the short-term timeframes. Again, because of the way that traditional markets will interact with what happened over the weekend for Bitcoin. But this is the mean reversion chart. So this is a different chart than what you might think I'm actually pointing out, which is actually this chart over here. And because I got a couple comments about this the other day, I do want to point out that this, again, is not relevant for the short term. We're talking about at earliest end of this week, probably maybe even a little more likely early next week. But it's not the same chart as this one over here. This was the original signal. The original signal was a volatility versus momentum signal. Volatility measures the dispersion of returns. I use BBWP for that purpose. Anytime that we see it get below 10 percentile, the expansion phase from there leads to an average move of blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. And we saw it play out yet again, which is amazing. And now what happens after that is we get typically a mean reversion move. So that is this chart over here. So for example, after we play out the initial trending move, so that would be the one that started over here, we then get a move that is typically counter to that trend, which is what I'm measuring on this chart over here and going over the data and statistics with, which we'll review in a second here. But this is essentially what I'm looking for. So first and foremost, I want to see that original signal play out, get into the extremes, and then cool off from those extremes. How do I define when the cool off officially begins? When the BBWP itself gets a negative slope and is below the moving average, and preferably the moving average also has a negative slope, or at least it's like declining on a close to close basis. That's what we want to be seeing. And you can see on this last iteration, that kind of called around the low right here. Was it the actual low? No, but it did get the next bounce in a more statistically relevant and safe manner from a trading perspective. And that was about a 16.5% bounce done over the course of 12 days in the way that I measure it. So as you can see, we're setting up for another signal of a bit of correction here relatively soon. This is why I don't think it's happening exactly right now. I do think that it's more likely to happen end of this week, early next week, something like that, simply because the daily BBWP is still at 100 percentile and the moving average for it is still at 98.10 percentile. So They're not quite there just yet. It's going to take at least another day for them to both be about 100, and then another day for the BBWP to get below the moving average, and then another day or two after that in order for them both to be like trending down at the same time. And that's when like the high probability play happens. Anyways, I've gone through and tested the last, I think it was, 11 iterations of this, and found that the average mean reversion play was about 15.24% done over the course of 11 and a half days from that signal. And the stochastic momentum oscillator has gone in the correct direction 82% of the time. So the reason why I'm basically looking for this one to go to the upside is simply because, one, it's a mean reversion play, which means that typically it's going to be against the prior move. Not always, actually, not always. But there are some examples of that, but typically speaking, yes. And of course, over here, we do see that the daily stochastic momentum oscillator is really fucking critical down right there. In fact, let's actually see. Yeah, only a few times in history here has it been this low at this level. To be fair, let me actually mark it off. So one of them was 7th of January. The other one was November 2018. I believe that was actually on the last macro low, or very, very close to it. Actually, no, there was one more dump lower. And the one before that was April 2018, a major low, but not a macro low, of course. All of them producing some nice bounces. So another thing, kind of in that category of most likely to bounce. And you will actually see the daily stochastic oscillator turn up with any sort of a closure today above $21,000. So if we do see price action remain above 21, then it actually could be that we're seeing the bounce happen sooner rather than later, and the bounce target will be higher than what I was kind of postulating earlier. So let's actually go into it right now, and let's just play around. Like, what if that actually does happen? Of which, by the way, CME is actually potentially even going to get a bullish engulfing today if it does close above yesterday's high, which is 21,315. If it does, then we could take the average of that, add it from that level, and 15.25% would put Bitcoin actually $24,000, or that's actually 1485, but it would be more like 24,500, I think. Let me actually just double check. Yeah, about 24,500, as close as I can get right there. Here's the thing though, this is an average, and we just looked at a very, very extreme move right here. For example, the BBWP on the coming off of the compression was extremely low for an extremely long period of time. And as you can see over here, it's been extremely high for a very long time as well, compared to, pretty much all the other iterations. So it'd be relevant to say that it's probably going to be on the upper end of that average, which we've seen go up to, even as much as like 35%, to be fair. Although that's certainly an outlier, like definitely an outlier. Although actually, no, we have another example over here, 40% almost. So, that is, I don't believe, no, that is correct. Okay, wait. No, that is not correct. That was left over from my prior chart. It actually is going to be much less than that, probably around 20%. But still, 20% I would say is like maybe reasonable if that were to happen. So if we were to take that, maybe $24,500. I didn't take that from the exact right level. Let me actually take it from that proverbial level. Yeah, $25,500. So 24.5 to 25.5. Assuming that would actually happen from today, I think that's a little bit less likely to happen. But of course, as long as Bitcoin is above the short-term time frame pivot, okay, all good. And the short-term time frame pivot is 20,300. Very, very critical number right there. As long as Bitcoin's above there, yeah, I guess that we could look at this as statistically most relevant, in fact. Do keep in mind, again, where the 200 simple is on the weekly and all of that, because by end of week, well, it's going to be very interesting to see where things kind of land upon that time. But for right now, I do think there's a little bit of short-term hopium, but again, this is in no way, shape, or form a macro bottom call. I think that would be much too premature to be speaking about such things. I think it would be only relevant if and only, at least for myself, of course, other people out there are going to be more cavalier with this, but if or at some point we very likely do get this, we get a higher low and then preferably a higher high as well. At that point, yes, we got a nice reversal, and we're going to be talking about major, massive, sustained upside. But until then, I'll just be aware of the areas of interest. Again, short term, you got basically upper $22,000, give or take a few hundred, and then above there you got a big one right around about that was going to be about 23.5. Yeah. And then, of course, above there, then we got the technical targets based off of the chart over here, of which we would expect that to be hit about 11-ish days from now, if it does start to play it from now. So yeah, I think I'll leave things right there. I hope that this was in some way helpful. I'll be signing off now. Take care and see you hopefully soon.